Hello. Today I want to speak about the woman who stole her healing. The woman who stole her healing. Now the story is to be found in Mark's Gospel, chapter 5, verses 25 to 34, and I'll let you read that for yourself. You know, there is a verse of a song in the Sankey hymn book which goes, "She only touched the hem of his garment, as to his side she stole, amid the crowd that gathered around him, and straightway she was whole." Let me tell you about this woman who stole her healing. For 12 long years she suffered from chronic bleeding. Verse 6 of Mark chapter 5 there tells us she also suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. Or in other words, she suffered all, she spent all, and was no better at all. The physicians said she was incurable. The law said she was unclean and must not worship in the temple. Society said she must not mix with other people. When the hope of recovery was all but gone, someone told her about Jesus. He was her last resort, but she was soon to find he was her lasting resort. And to quote John Fable, man's extremity is God's opportunity. Verse 27 and 28 of Mark chapter 5, we find these words. She came from behind and touched his garment. For she said, "If I may but touch his clothes, I shall be made whole." Speaking about Jesus. Now Jesus, being a recognized rabbi, his robe was edged with blue, which is the colour of grace. So she was in reality reaching out for the grace of God. Oh my, reach out and touch the Lord as he goes by. You'll find he's not too busy to hear your heart's cry. He's passing by this moment, your needs to supply. Reach out and touch the Lord as he goes by. Mission Praise 569. And then we continue on, verse 29. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. Note, it was the Redeemer, not the robe, who healed her. She was now cured. Verse 30. And Jesus, knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned him about and said, "Who touched my clothes?" Now many people jostled Jesus that day, but only one really touched him. And when Jesus cleanses us from sin, we know it, and he knows it too. Verse 32. And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. Verse 33 says, but the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. Yes, she thought she was stealing the healing from Jesus. behind his back. Verse 34. And Jesus said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague. Oh, what a lovely story that is. All healing of the body is temporary. Even this dear lady would have to die eventually. But the healing of the soul is permanent. There are no sick people in heaven. Let me close with a personal story of something that happened while Marjorie and I were on holiday at a Christian guest house years ago now. While we were there, the manageress was urgently called to be at the bedside of her 20-year-old daughter, a born-again believer, who sadly was dying at home. Before she went home, she confided to me, "What can I say to her, Bob?" So we prayed together, and as we did, the Lord showed me a vision of a clock. And I was aware that the moment we pray for healing, God's healing clock starts ticking. The second hand tells us that sometimes healing is instantaneous. The minute hand tells us that sometimes healing takes a little longer. The hour hand tells us that healing can only be over a long period. But then I saw another hand which did not move, which had previously been set to sound the alarm to waken the sleeper at a particular hour, reminding us that sometimes healing must only occur in heaven itself. As we prayed there, the Lord reminded us of Psalm 31 verse 15. My times are in thy hand. The manageress returned to her duties some days later and said that she told her daughter about God's healing clock, whereupon the dear girl smiled and passed on to her perfect healing in heaven. Oh, touch the hem of his garment, and thou too shalt be free. His saving power this very hour shall give new life to thee. God bless you.